Hi, this is Charlie from Path of the Bee. In this video, I'm going to build an impact crusher for my gold mine. So what I'm going to use is just an old grinder that I have laying around. I'm going to retire it from its intended purpose and we'll make an impact crusher out of it. So to start with, this is what I've done. This is where I'm at so far. So I have a piece of pipe here. This is actually considered 6.5-inch spouting. It's kind of a strange dimension, but the ID measures 6 1/4. And then I've cut a piece that's 2 3/4 inches long. I faced it on the lathe to make sure it's certainly flat, and then I welded it to this piece of square 1/4-inch plate on the outside. I bored a hole in the dead center of it, and then some 1/2-inch holes here to hold it all together. So the grinder's going to go through this side, and what I'm working on right now is a mounting system for my grinder here to mount on to here so it doesn't wobble around. And so what I'll do is I've been looking for a piece of pipe that fits over this, and I can't find exactly what I need. So I'm going to take a piece of shafting that I had and turn it on the lathe to fit over this nose of this grinder tight, so it'll keep it square. When I weld to the bottom of that, it'll stay lined up with the spindle. It's basically its purpose, and to give it the proper standoff. So I'll get going on that on the lathe. Okay, so I found a piece of 3.5-inch wide shaft. I bored an 1.5-inch hole in it. It'll have to get opened up quite a bit more. And I discovered that I only need this piece to be about 1.5 inches long. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to face this off till it's about that big. Okay, so I'm done turning this to about 1.5 inches wide. We're going to go ahead and swap out tools here. Put a boring bar on. Alright, I think that's going to work great. Okay, so I'm boring it out the last bit here. This is going to be 2 3/8 bore. Slightly over, give me a little bit of slack. I'll cut back out the back way with the spring cut, and we'll be done with the inside. Okay, so I got this cut out here. It's a really nice super square shoulder there. I'm concerned that I don't know how it's going to fit down in here. So we're going to give her a test here to see what it looks like. Foot's down right here to this. There is a shoulder right here that it's sitting on. I think that's the best way to make certain that it's sitting true and level. Otherwise, I'm going to end up on these screws and whatnot. So I think we're just going to go with that and leave that little bit of space under there. So, alright, I think that's going to be good. Okay, so what I've got is that that piece I just made, and the idea is that it's going to sit on here. It's going to be the standoff for this piece here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this on here. That hole is just a little bit bigger than the thread, just enough that we're going to get that centered up as best that I can. And I'm going to go ahead and use this high nut to tighten down on that. Once we got our tack welded on there, we're going to go ahead and weld that all on. And then I can machine through there and open that bore up. Okay, so I've chucked this whole thing up in the lathe here, and I'm going to go ahead and put the boring bar back on. and bore that out. Okay, so I've got this bored out. So that plate is now the same size all the way through there. And I did that so if it gets material inside of there, that it'll come out and not grind the end of the shaft off. So, all right. The next thing that I want to do, now that I've got that going like that for me, is we need a way to keep this from spinning. I'll build some straps that attach to these handle holds here. I got a bolt that'll tighten up on them, and we'll get some straps, and then we'll weld the straps down here onto the side. Okay, so this little boss here has it's kind of recessed or whatever. It's 7/8 in diameter, so I took a little piece of shaft and bored it out and made some bushings, so that'll get me some space and come out here. So I'll get these drilled, and then once I get them drilled, I'll bolt them on, and then when everything's like set up perfect, I'll just weld it. Okay, so just had an idea. Looking at here, I'd like to, put a nut or something on there, tighten that down, hold that tightly in there when I have this flipped over and that grinder motor sitting on that, it's going to want to kind of tip out, since I'm trying to figure out how to hold it. And I thought, well, you know what, maybe I'll just grab a new flat disc and looked at it, and I think that I can just spin that in there as a great big nut, tighten that down. Let's give it a spin here, see what happens. So I can get my measurements now from the plate to the center of that hole, and I'll drill the straps. Okay, so because I'm going to weld this, I can have this slightly short when it's bolted on there, a slight gap, fill it in with the weld, and then it will be perfect. So I'll drill this the exact right size for whatever the metric thing size is here. So I'm just going to get a ballpark idea of our height here, with the center that's at, which is that line right there. So, here's the bushing we made, and the hole we just drilled. Those fit just perfect. We'll tighten them right on there. I might have to trim these bolts. It's the only metric ones we can find at our local little store. Okay, I've got them shortened up a bit. We'll go ahead and try them out with the bushings here. Alright, we'll get that tightened on, and then we can weld them together. Okay, so I'll weld this together. Okay, now I can take this off here. Okay, and I'm going to measure how tall that thing's sticking up there. Okay, so I just did some math and figured out how much I have to take off of this connecting nut. And so I'll take it over to the lathe and we'll machine it down, make it the right length. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this dimension here on my caliper that I need to remove. I'm going to lock it down, and then I'm going to use the hardened point here to scribe a little line of where I'm going to cut to. This will make a mark so I know how far to go in. Okay, we're there. So I cut this 4 inches. Alright, I'll drill a 5/8 hole in that, and then we'll spin it on the lathe and make it uniform. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chuck up this piece of rod here to where it sticks out a little bit, and then I'm gonna tighten it up. Just putting it in here at an angle. Okay, and I'll make certain that that goes round and round. All right, and then that will turn this as I run this in here with the live center and tighten it up. Okay, now as that rotates the chuck, it'll push that. That's my push bar, and we'll just cut this off of here, and then I'll put a little bit of oil on each end, and we're off and running. All right, we'll let this coast down, and hopefully we got it this time. All right, good deal. So these are uniform then, same length, which is what I needed. And I'll go ahead and peel that out of there, and we'll polish this all up. I forgot to scribe my mark on here. And then we'll shine our little pocket flashlight in here, and we will drive in with this jobby until we can use the bit to scratch a mark on it, and it'll come around and it'll scratch that mark in exactly the same spot on that side. And there's my lines. So I'll just center them up, center punch, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so this is 1 1/8 wide, so that's 9/16. Okay, we'll drill them 3/8. Okay, so I went ahead and I drilled these out to 7/16, so that 3/8 chain will go in and move freely in there. So that's what we're going to do. I'll get a couple of links, and I'll cut some little bars. I'll cut a couple of links and some bars, and we'll weld them up. Okay, so these are the pieces that I've made here. Little chain links. I just sawed a chain link in half, and by the time I get my little bar welded on here, I'm gonna have enough length. I'll still have some space, keep it from hitting the end there, but so that's what I'll do next. I'll set these up to weld them in. A little piece of bar is a chunk of AR plate that I had cut off from. Okay, still a little hot, but I'm just gonna put it in there while I'm waiting for it to cool. Okay, the plate will go on here, and the bolts will go through here. We'll put a nut on the back side. So the next thing that I want to do is I'll go ahead and I'll fix these bolts from the back side here, so they don't move, and I can tighten it down from the other side, weld them in there. I'm going to drill a whole bunch of little holes. This is where material will go out. And so this will be a permanent kind of a screen to keep material in there. Now I'll drill 1/8" holes here. But as it's being smashed around that impact, what comes out will be considerably smaller than 1/8". So. Okay, so my battery ran dead while I was drilling holes. So this is what I ended up with. Here's the pattern. Not really a pattern, I just randomly drilled a bunch of 1/8" holes in that. Hopefully that's enough. We'll find out. Okay, so the next thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to build a stand for this to fit onto, and I want it to sit over top of a bucket. So I grabbed a couple pieces of scrap iron here. I'm going to weld up a little frame, some legs on it. Okay, so this is what I've got. I got it all welded up here. I've got just enough material to cut 8 of these out of here. If I cut them about 2 inches long, so I'll cut these up and weld them on the bottom of this little bucket stand. Okay, let that cool for a minute, and we'll test it out on a bucket. Still pretty hot, but we'll see how it fits. Oh yeah, that'll. Okay, so I've got a little piece cut here to set in behind this. I'll weld it right in there like yay. And so I think what I'll do from here is we're just gonna weld this back piece to the frame and this right here to the frame. I still want to be able to take this off. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to need to do is to build an infeed into this machine here. So what I'm looking at is to, I'll cut a hole in it and we'll make a drop tube right up here on this side of it. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off of here and I'm going to cut this hole out. Okay, so I've been cutting the infeed tube and cleaning up and deburring the tubing for that. This is what I came up with. I'm going to attach that right on there, and then I'm going to angle feed it out over the bucket this direction. And I decided I wanted a little cup on top of this piece here, this angle. And so I came up with this. Let me bring you in. Okay, so this is the angle here that is going to be the top. And I wanted a little extra tray on the outside. So I took a piece of sheet metal here, square, I made it square, 2.5 inches wider on each side than this opening. So that'll sit right there in the center of that when it's all welded together. And then I measured, I cut that square and I measured out the exact center where I wanted that to be, that piece to fit. Drew a box on it, and then from the corners I measured in 1 inch on each corner just for this particular deal. So now when these, I'm going to tack weld each of these here in the center, and then I'm going to fold this up on the outside there, and then I can go ahead and weld that seam, and I'll have a little cup. Okay, well I'm gonna get this tacked up. In order to tack it, I'm gonna have it here in the square, so that I know that this dimension is what I need. And I'll put that tack in, and I'll do all 4 corners, and then I'll slowly try and fold it together and make it work. Okay, so this is what I got. These 3 corners are all perfect, but this one I probably didn't cut it exactly as I need to, so I'm guessing that this seam is not gonna turn out the way I want it to. But so the idea is to slowly bend each one of these up as I go around, and hopefully not break my tack weld. Okay, so this is the first one that's coming together. I think we'll just go ahead and hold that together and tack it. Okay, that's all tacked up now, and we'll weld that right on top of that and fill the gaps up, so then we'll have a nice little feed trough there. Okay, so I got my little feeder spout all welded up. It turned out really good. And then so that's gonna weld on here like this. So material feed in at an angle. If something gets beamed up, it's got to make an angle change before it can get out and whack me in the nose. But I decided also that, you know, I don't like the idea of all the silica dust being made by crushing quartz. So I think what I'm going to do is that I'm going to build a water bar in here. I hook it up to a garden hose. So I got a little garden hose fitting here, and a 3-inch nipple, and a little plastic cap. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in here, so that will fit in there, and then I'll take this nipple and I'll just drill several little holes in it, so that it'll spray water out on the rocks as they're coming down in, and the dust as it's trying to come out will have a mist of water in it. I drilled half a dozen holes in that, and then in my piece here, I'm going to want the garden hose to come in over this, you know, the cord side. And so what I'll do is I'll drill a 7/8 inch hole in this. I'm going to put it down far enough that I can, on the inside here, I can put a piece of metal in and divert material so it doesn't catch on that. Okay, so I got my hole drilled. We're going to go ahead and position that in there, center it up, and get it angled to where the water will spray across the bar. And then I'm going to weld that in and then we'll put a shield over the top of it. Show you the little deflector tube in there. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and weld this the rest of the way together, and then we'll see what it looks like after that. Okay, so I've got the impellers here lined up, so they're gonna spin around without getting locked up. It's all tightened on. We're gonna get the outside plate put on, and then I just got a 1/2-inch garden hose bit here. We'll screw it on this side over here. And then I got a plastic PVC threaded cap to put on this side. And could use some Teflon tape, maybe tighten it up. Oh, it's gonna snug up good. Get some pliers, tighten those up. So I would expect this to leak water around here where this plate bolts on. And if I find that that's an issue, I could take a cereal box and cut out and put in there and then tighten it down, make a gasket that way. I think I'm gonna look around shop here for a rock. I can only find one rock that I have here. I'll crush it up and we'll give this a test. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's that rock that I've got. I don't even know what it is. It's just something that I found out in the mountains one time I brought home. Pretty interesting looking thing. We'll go ahead and we'll smash it up and we'll run it through the crusher, see what we get. Okay, so I got this all crushed up, ready to go. So the water is and the crushed stone is coming out that basically the bottom ring of holes that I drilled in, and the upper ones are just letting pressure out. So it's acting like it's working really good. Okay, so it looks like it's been working really good. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the water off, and we'll open it up and look inside. Okay, so this is what's left inside of that after operating. You can see it cleaned it up. There's a few little pieces of welding spatter BBs in there, and then just that pretty fine sand is all that's left down below. Okay, I'll go ahead and let this settle for a minute, and then I'll dump all that water out and we'll look at what we've got for grind size. This is the material that came out. Of course that rock was black, but it is super fine here. Of course I don't have a screen to classify it and check it, but I'm just telling you by feel. We're within the 30 minus for sure, and probably closer to 50. Okay, so I think my little impact crusher works really good. The next thing I'll be working on is a small jaw crusher to feed material into this impact crusher. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.